Hello, welcome to Books in the World, the longest running literary cable TV program now in its 43rd year. Books in the World is a production of the Cape Cod Writers Center. I'm your host, Elisa Metcalf, and with me today is Nicole Asselin, who has written a cozy mystery entitled Murder at First Pitch. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Good. First of all, for those who maybe don't know, what's the difference between a cozy mystery versus the other types of mysteries?
Well, it's pretty simple. A cozy mystery is essentially not a lot of excessive violence, not a lot of excessive blood, not a lot of sex. It's just kind of your what you want to sit down on the couch with a blanket and a cup of tea, very Britishian sense where there's not a lot. You can just focus on the mystery itself and not have to worry about, worrying about blood and violence and everything like that.
Right, and they tend to be a little faster paced.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Usually happens over a course of a couple days, so you don't have to worry about too much, getting invested. And it's not like a thriller. It's not 24 hours. You get to meet some characters, meet some side people, and kind of learn a little bit more about personal lives too, which is fun.
Sure, yeah, and they're faster paced, like the tempo and the tone is a little quicker.
Yeah.
So,
I enjoy, they're perfect. I think they're perfect beach reads because you can just sit on the beach with a good cozy and probably finish it in 2 days and not have to worry about, holding on to it in the airport or whatever.
Yeah, well, great. Congratulations. So this is your first book?
My first book, yes, which is super exciting because I graduated from college with an English degree and always wanted to do something with my writing, but never really got into professionally writing it until a few years ago. And then I found my love of baseball and my love of mysteries was the perfect combination. I was like, I need to write this book because I want to read this book. So that's how it came about. And now it's going to be, it's as of right now, it's booked for a 3-book series, the second of which is going to come out later this year, hopefully. So
terrific. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the plot.
Sure. So Murder at First Pitch is actually set in Abington, Massachusetts, which is where I currently live. It's a relatively small town, but close enough to Boston where you still have some of those big city issues. It centers on a young woman named Madeline Boucher who goes back to work for her family's independent league baseball team, which is fake. There is no team in Abington. I have to make sure to tell people that because I don't want them to look for a ballpark. But she goes back to work for the team as a social media influencer liaison. And of course, on her first day, stumbles across a dead body, as one does in the dugout, and her brother gets accused, so she inserts herself into the investigation, we'll say. She doesn't go seek out to be an investigator, but things happen, so she kind of finds herself involved in it.
Yeah, so Madeline is a great character. She has this wonderful, completely unneurotic personality. She's just like a doer.
Yeah.
She sees something and there's no other answer.
Yeah.
I just have to do this. Despite the fact that the police are investigating. And maybe some people have said, maybe you just leave this to the professionals.
Which, as always, cozy mystery, you always have that, maybe stop investigating. You're a social media person. You're not a police officer.
But she is just, I just loved her. And you write her as a normal person. She's not a superstar. No. She's just an average woman with a great personality. She, she packs on a few pounds unapologetically, eats her cheeseburgers and pizza. I love that about her. And she's got cats.
Yes.
So always who can't relate?
That's another element of cozy mysteries. There's always a cat. Always a cat.
Yeah, her cats definitely come in to the story. So yeah, she's great fun, and of course you've got the intrigue of the brother being accused of the murder, somebody very close to her, and there's the hot security guy.
Something always a cozy mystery has a nice little. It's not a ton heavy romance, but there's a little sprinkling of it in there.
Sure. And the nosy best friend.
Always a nosy best friend.
Nosy,
who's
actually best friend.
Based on a real person, and she knows it's based on her. So this isn't like telling out of school, and she's going to be like, oh my God. But she is somebody I worked with who just always had that kind of, like you said, non-neurotic. She just said it like it is. damn the consequences. You're just going to listen to me. So I was like, I have to put her in a book. And she's a very South Shore person. So I knew she had to have the accent and the iced coffee every morning. And that was it. And
right.
So it's great.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Of course. Got to put Dunks in there in a book in Massachusetts.
I know. They should sponsor you. Because they get
your
a couple
lips,
of
your lips to Mr. Duncan.
Right, they get a couple of shouts out in there. So the book, it just feels very close to you. So you're from the area.
Yeah, my dad was military, so we kind of moved all over. But my grandparents were mainly based in Connecticut. I was born in Connecticut. My dad and my mom met and got married in Connecticut. So we've always been a New England family. They were from New Hampshire originally. So we were raised on the good side, the Red Sox side, not the Yankee side. No offense to any Yankee fans, if you're listening. But my grandfather raised us very Red Sox heavy, and we would spend summers at the house, and this was pre-Nesson in Connecticut, so we would listen to the games on the radio, and I just fell in love with the sport. And in this area, oh my gosh, so many women love the sport of baseball that I knew I wanted to write something that I didn't see out there for people like me who every night when we play, listen to the Red Sox game to go to bed. So that's kind of where this was birthed from, my love of listening to Joe Castig every night and just loving these teams to the point of obsession. Yeah, so it's kind of my love letter to the sport and also to my favorite kind of cozy mysteries where it's, the 30-something-year-old woman who just kind of falls into things. Because I feel like most women, most men probably too, if something happens in their lives, they're curious and they want to learn more. So I think that's kind of where her investigation skills come in. It's mainly curiosity.
Right. Well, some people might see a dead body and run the other way.
I mean, I probably
however.
would scream and, call the police, but she says, well, she screams, but she also goes, this is kind of creepy on my first day back to work. Like,
Sure.
What is going on here?
And of course, then, that her brother gets
that's the big
accused
one.
of the murder or suspected, then, there's
Right.
an impetus
Sure.
to start investigating maybe a little quicker than the law enforcement. So you're from the area? You live in...
So my mom actually lived in Barnstable for several years. She lives in West Yarmouth now. And then I've lived in Abington for almost 10 years. Next year it'll be 10 years. So, and then I went to college at Curry College in Milton. So this kind of feels like home to me. We lived in Pennsylvania for a long time and moved all over the place. But we've always kept that New England sensibility with the Red Sox love,
Sure.
All the sports, and my grandparents living in Connecticut for 50 plus years. It was just the perfect place to put the book.
Did you go to the games?
I've gone to a lot. I'm a little lazy now. I don't now that post-pandemic, I don't like to put like makeup on and stuff, so it's hard to like go out. But yeah, I go periodically. I'll go. Sometimes my college will set up some games. I've won tickets through Dunkin' Donuts, weirdly enough. And so when I worked in the city, I would go more. But now that I live a little bit south, it's a little bit hard to get in for night games, and I also go to bed wicked early. So. Night game, I have to fall asleep to the game now instead of listening to it.
Yes, I hear you. That's how it is. And also the centers around the local ball teams is very manageable.
Yeah.
I can see how, if you wanted to have the murder take place, at
I actually
at Fenway, that would have been a little more complicated.
Was going to murder somebody at Fenway Park, and I was like, I want to go back there, and I don't want them to be mad at me for murdering somebody. So I was like, it's probably easier just to create a team. And that actually made it more fun, because then it's sort of like The Sims for baseball. Like I can make my own team and make my own games and see what they do at the games and stuff like that. So it's kind of like running my own minor league team within the pages of a book, which is super fun to do.
Sure, and the communities,
Right.
The local baseball communities, how they interact with each other. I mean, that was a great factor,
Right.
and another bit of intrigue.
And my editor, actually, she lives in West Bridgewater, and she read the book the first time, this first draft of this, and she goes to Brockton Rocks games all the time, which is an independent baseball league right next door to my town. And she's like, oh my God, this felt just like the Brockton Rocks. Like, this is perfect for anybody who knows that lifestyle. And I was like, then I did my job. That's all that
Good.
matters.
Yeah, it definitely comes
Yeah.
through in the book that you know, that this is
Baseball
personal
is-
to you.
baseball is life.
Yeah, and I. So tell me about your grandparents.
Yep. So my grandparents, my grandma and grandpa Asselin, lived in Meriden, Connecticut, longer than I've been alive. They've since passed, but he was the one who kind of drew me into the baseball world. Like I said, we used to listen to games in the summers.
Did he play?
He did not play. He just grew
Just
up in
was a
New
fan.
Hampshire and was always a Red Sox fan, and he just imparted that to me and my brother, and we just held on to that. You know, moving around a lot, you kind of could be a fan of a lot of different teams, but we always were Red Sox fans. Even in Hawaii or California, we were Red Sox fans. And I think it's also because my parents lived in Connecticut
Sure.
their entire lives until my dad joined the military. And then my grandmother actually was the type of woman who would read a mystery book a day. She'd just have a pile on her end table and would just pile through them. And so, going in the summers, we'd listen to the Red Sox game with Grandpa on the radio, and then she would be in her chair reading. So she
Right,
was
yeah,
my
I
big
love that-
reader fan. Oh my
that
gosh, she
element that
always
your
had those
grandmother-
little used bookstore books that I just, still to this day, I'll go to a used bookstore, and I may not read the book right away, but I have to buy it because it has that feel to it, that history behind
Sure.
it, which is great. And so they were, when I wrote the book, unfortunately they had passed after I'd wrote it,
Aw.
but the book is dedicated to both of them because they
Right.
were the ones who kind of inspired
Sure.
this whole thing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. So your first book. So what was the querying process like, and trying to get it published? How was that
Sure.
for you?
Tough. I have a spreadsheet of over 100 rejections.
When did you finish
So I
the
finished
first draft?
the first draft probably in 2016. I had gone to a conference in Bethesda, Maryland called Malice Domestic, and I had met a couple New England authors who said, you should write that book. And so I had the idea, and I actually drafted it in 6 months. That was the quickest I've ever written because I was like, I know I want this book.
Right.
So then I started sending it to agents and editors, and nothing, just getting nowhere. So then I took the book back in 2017 and I rewrote it in a different tense. I was like, oh, let's try third person instead. And then I did a Twitter pitch contest called PitMad, #PitMad, where you have to pitch your book in 140 characters. This was before they extended the character limit. And editors, agents, publishers could like it. And if they like it, then you can send them a full request. I pitched it. It was take me out to a murder. Will Madeline find the killer or strike out or something like that? And
Very catchy.
it's you gotta think a lot. You were supposed to do 3, and I could only get 1. I was like, well, this is going to be a good 1 because that's all I can do right now. And my now publisher, Panda Moon Publishing, Zara Kramer, actually liked the tweet, sent me a message, and said, I'm also a big Red Sox fan, so I want to read this whole thing. And I sent it to her, and she was like, yep, this is right up our alley. Like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And I was like, yes, because I have over 100 other rejections, and they were a real publisher, doing the editing, the book cover, all of that stuff that I wouldn't have to do because I don't think I would
Sure.
be able to do that. And they've been amazing ever since. So it was 2017. I got in touch with them, and then 2018, 2019 is when we did all the drafting and the cover and kind of working out all that stuff. So then it came out in 2019. So 3 years-ish.
Yeah, no, that is great. And
Book 2 is a little bit longer because then I was like, oh no, I have to write more? Okay, we got to get there.
yeah. So how far along are you in the second book?
So book 2, the edits just went back to the publisher. So I have a cover, I have the edits done, and now I'm just waiting for a release date.
That's great.
And I'm like freaking out.
So what did you learn, say, from this first book between this one and the second one? I mean, so it's Panda Moon
It's still
again?
Panda Moon. It's still set in Abington. I learned a little bit of the Murder, She Wrote syndrome of I'm going to kill another person in the same place. Will anybody make that comment? Like, wait, there's too many murders here. So I did kill somebody again at the ballpark, but there is a little bit of that wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like,
Right.
well, this is weird. It's happened again,
Sure.
kind of thing.
Is it the same characters?
Same characters.
Oh, great.
And then book 3 that I'm currently writing right now is actually, I'm going to take Madeline away from the ballpark for a little bit to a different ballpark, so somewhere else. So nobody's going to get murdered in Abington this time. I don't know if I'm going to murder somebody somewhere else, but as of right now, it's not in Abington. But yeah, I just learned that the process itself, it takes longer than you think from drafting to publication. Like, I don't think a lot of people, myself included, knew that it would take 2.5 years to get the book through everything. So I think that.
And then there were some of us who knew it was going to take a long time and are still waiting.
There you go. You're in your window.
Yes, it is a very slow process, and I think the pandemic.
But then you get that book, and you're like, oh yeah, oh, this is why I waited 2 years. Yeah, this is perfect.
Right. I know that's great that Panda Moon did the cover and everything.
They're a really great company. I recommend everybody querying them when they're open for submissions, that they really took the time. We had classes where they'd bring all the authors in and say, like, here's how the sales work. Here's how we format your book. Here's how, analytics works at Amazon and stuff like that. So they really drew you into the process, and it demystified some of it, which was great, because as a writer too, you think it's like, here's a book.
Right.
How do I market it? How do I, how do I get my sales? How do I get my numbers? All that kind of stuff. It was nice to get that education that I didn't have before.
Yeah, that's very helpful, because the whole right brain, left brain thing. If you're a writer and more creative side, then yes, you have that whole.
I used my calculator at the restaurant today to figure out tips. So no, I'm not a math person.
Oh, that's great. So, leading up to the book, have you written short stories? Did you try to get anything published like that? Or?
I laugh because I was a poet in college and high school, a very angsty poet in high school and college, and I did most of my creative writing in college in poetry, and so I was published at my school, but never really pushed it into a professional world. And also knowing that I wanted to make money when I graduated college, so I was like, well, I can't be a writer, because unless I'm, J.K. Rowling or Dan Brown or Patterson. So I kind of fell off from the poetry and didn't really write for a long time after college. It was mainly just work. I worked for the government, so it was like doing serious stuff. And then when I moved back up here in 2012, that was when I started meeting the people at the library, or meeting them through the Cape Cod Writers Center or Mystery Writers of America or Sisters in Crime. And that's when I said, okay, I really want to do this again. And knowing that I could do it while working at the same time was I didn't have to quit my job to be a full-time writer. You can do both.
Right.
It's hard, but you can do it.
So that's an important element too, getting involved in these groups and with like-minded people and some of these. I mean, there's the mystery community is pretty big.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Oh, they've been the best, just the best. I joined Mystery Writers of America first and the New England chapter, but then I went to a couple events and met several of the Sisters in Crime, which was created over 25 years ago to promote women in crime fiction, which, not thinking about it at the time, I was like, yeah, that's weird that there's not more women out there doing this kind of stuff. And so through them, I'm on the board of the New England Crime Bake now. I was on the board for the Sisters in Crime for a while, and they're just a really supportive group of people. Right. So you always, if you have a question, they'll answer it. No matter how stupid the question is, they'll answer it. There's chat boards where you can say, hey, I want to kill somebody with an ice pick. How would I do that? And people will answer you seriously and say, yeah, here you go. And then just the conferences where you get to meet readers who read like you. So even if you're not an author, you can still connect with the crime writing community, which I think is, I don't know, I think the romance community is similar, but I don't know of any other groups that, just want to hang out and talk mysteries.
Right. Yeah, no, it seems very unique in that way too.
It's really great. I love everything they do.
Right. And some of the kids' books, I think there's
the children's
SCDWI are great. So, but you also, in college, you were a dancer.
I was.
You minored in dance.
I did.
What kind of dance?
Mainly ballet. Professor Barbara Scholes, shout out. She was the best. I'm actually wearing dance socks right now. I will not show them. But I actually just restarted ballet again as an adult, so I'm doing it again. And they're pressuring me to write a dance cozy mystery, and I'm
Well,
like,
that's what-
we gotta wait until
That's
we
what I
gotta
was
wait till I
wondering.
get through some baseball first, guys. Let me get through 3 of these, and then we'll talk. But yeah,
Yeah, I want to see a murder in a dance studio.
mean, it's perfect. And I have the dance teacher. She's like a 20-year-old. She's just brilliant. And she's like, "Ooh, I would read that." And I was like, "Okay, well, I have a built-in audience of 7, so that's great. But first, let me get through this guy first. Let me get through the baseball side first, and then we'll switch gears."
Right, right. And you moved around a lot as a kid.
Yeah, my dad was in the Navy, which was awesome. We lived in Hawaii, in California. Where else did we live? Florida.
For how long at a stretch?
So it was usually about 2 years at a stretch. The longest we lived was in Pennsylvania in Mechanicsburg for 9 years because I was in high school and I wanted to stay with my friends. I didn't want to go flitting about. I think we could go to Guam or back to Mechanicsburg. And I was like, let's go to Mechanicsburg. I want my friends. Because I was a dramatic high schooler. So we kind of moved all around every couple of years. So actually where I live now is the longest I've been in one house. And so it's weird because it's like I'm ready.
Right.
I'm itching to move, but at the same time I love my community, and so I don't want to move yet.
Sure.
So we'll see how long I last. But so far they've been great. Nobody's kicking me out yet. And I'm going
Right.
to stay in Abington.
And your other job
Yes.
is a tech writer
Technical
for
writer, yeah.
medical.
Yep, healthcare-ish.
So does that in any way translate to writing, fiction?
Only in the sense of like formatting, grammar. I mean, obviously, you can't get very creative in teaching someone how to process a claim. Like, you can't use a lot of dramatic license there. But it does help hone the basics of grammar. I mean, I'm not a good speller, but keeping an eye out for some of those errors, or formatting, even using styles and stuff like that. So it helps in that sense. But yeah, creatively, that's where I turn my mind off to do the business writing, and then I'll get home and just flip the switch and go, I need to get it out.
That has to be hard too, because when
Yes.
you're spending, in your job is doing at least something similar to that, and
Yeah.
then to still find
And now
the energy.
it's even harder because I work from home. So I turn off one computer and then I turn to the other computer. But I have a nice mechanical keyboard for my other computer. So it's like clicky, clicky, click. When I was working full time in an office, I'd find it hard when I got home to write. So a lot of times I'd have to go to like a Panera or a Starbucks or the Barnes & Noble Cafe and just bang out 1,000 words on like a Saturday. Now it's a little bit easier. This weekend I just went to the library and sat for 2 hours. I'm a very distracted millennial, so if there's something on TV, I'm gonna watch it. So I have to take myself out of my house or away from my work computer to do any writing because it's just too hard.
Yes. Look, there's a cat that needs
Exactly.
petting.
I'm like, oh my God, my 3 cats are running around. I just want to watch them all day. Yeah, they don't have any sense
Such a
of
challenge.
that I'm trying to write to feed them, but they don't get it.
And on top of that, you are, what I've noticed about you, you are put yourself out there. You are doing interviews. You are very active on social media. Is it an accident that the main character is, works in the social media aspect of the baseball?
Accident, no. I was trying to think of a career that someone who has been away from this world for a while could just kind of hop in and do. And I feel like, oh, this is going to make some social media people mad, but like if company, I mean, you don't need a ton of experience to go into social media, so she could come back to the team having this other life and actually do it. As you see in the book, she kind of gets a little more experience in other things, and so she's not strictly social media by the end, but she still kind of lives in that world. But I think it's also the state of the world we're in, that everybody's got a social somehow. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from.
But also, the time that you've taken to promote yourself is impressive.
Yeah, I knew.
I mean, you should write a lesson, and also the fact that just through the Pit Mad you got in the book, you could write a how-to.
Oh yeah, I've actually done talks with Sisters in Crime. We've done Pathways to Publication, and I was with a older published, traditionally published
Right.
author, and then I was like, hi, Twitter's my friend, and hashtag awesome. And they're, everybody looks at me like, oh, the millennial, she's back. But I actually, last summer, we did, Sisters in Crime did a TikTok tutorial, and so that's my newest, dare I say, obsession. I don't do well with a lot of the videos because I'm old and I don't understand how transitions work. But it's fun to do, and I watch a lot of videos, and I'm learning from other authors on there.
Sure.
I belong a lot of book talk, and they're always constantly creating, and I think that's pretty awesome and learning.
Right. But it's necessary.
Exactly.
And, we write because sometimes,
Yeah.
because we're reclusive
Yep.
and we want to get away from the world. And you have to do exactly the opposite
Yep.
to promote yourself.
You'll
and
never
you're
know
really
it,
good at it.
But I'm an introvert with a mother who
Oh,
loves to
stop.
talk to everybody. So I've learned that skill. But at the same time, like after this, I'm going to go home and take a nap and be like, it's perfect.
Right.
Like I don't need it 100% of the days. I'm already stressed out because I have another event tomorrow. That's like 2 days in a row. I don't know what to do.
Yes, this
but
is
yeah,
such is our life now.
And then also social media, it has that veneer of a separation between
Sure.
you and a person. I do love going to events at the library or on, wherever else, just to meet people that read and who say,
Right.
I like your book. Even
Sure.
if they're like, I got it from the library. Perfect. That's all
Yeah.
I need you to do. Just read it
Right.
and tell me what you think.
Well, great. Whatever you're doing, it's
working.
It's working. And congratulations on
you.
the book, Murder at First Pitch. And when did you say the second one is coming out?
I'm hoping this early spring. Hopefully the baseball lockout will be over and we can start doing. I'm working with some minor league teams now to set up some tables and stuff at minor league games and maybe at the Cape League.
That's great. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
And people can reach you all the normal channels.
NicoleAsselinWriter.com is my website. And Asselin at Instagram, Facebook, Nanasselin at Twitter, Nicole Asselin 38 at TikTok.
Okay, got that out of the way.
But they're all on
Okay.
my website, so it's so
Right.
much easier just to go to the website.
Well, I wish you best of
Thank you.
success with the next book and this
Yes.
one as well. And
Yes.
maybe we'll be talking
I
to
hope
you
so.
again.
I love this place.
Okay, all right. And thank you for watching Books in the World. For more programs like this, you can go to the CapeCodWritersCenter.org.